In a century riddled with unrest, World War II remains the epic tale. An event of unparalleled impact. Even now, we are uncovering new information about secret weapons and villainous tactics, about extraordinary heroism and boundless shame, about a time when one life, or one bullet, or one bomb separated infamy and glory, defeat and victory, tyranny and freedom. Untold stories of World War II. On the 16th of July, 1945, a bomb exploded in the American desert. A very different kind of bomb. The furious energy of the atom had been unleashed. That power might have landed in the wrong hands had a few brave men not waged a secret war against Germany's atomic program. At the height of the Second World War, Germany's Nazi Party marched toward global domination, led by its ambitious, remorseless leader. Adolf Hitler had the will to conquer the world. All he needed was the weapon. And he had found the means to make one in the most unlikely place. It was here, in the snow-packed mountains of Norway, that a handful of soldiers on skis fought to stop Hitler's dream of possessing the ultimate weapon. Old men now, they remember how they risked their young lives for the cause of liberty.
They will stop at nothing in order to conquer the world. So the feeling they had to be stopped became very, very strong.
We were quite certain that if we were caught by Germans, we were all being executed.
It would take 3 daring attempts before they succeeded. April 9th, 1940. German warships penetrated Oslo Fjord. The Blitzkrieg had come to Norway. Within 2 months, the besieged nation was forced to surrender.
Well, it took some time to realize it, actually, but when autumn 1940 came and the darkness came in over Norway, you suddenly realized that it was not the same Norway you had the year before. To understand it, you need to have the experience of being occupied. To live in an occupied country is the most distressing thing you can do.
A vast occupying army flooded the country. The Nazis now controlled all aspects of Norwegian life.
No, actually a war between each Norwegian and each German. We had to do the best out of it. I think that was the common opinion. Inside, of course, most Norwegians hated them.
They introduced Gestapo in Norway when they understood that the resistance was coming. Started arresting people, torturing people, killing people, etc., etc. And then we suddenly understood what an occupation meant to the people.
Hitler's grasp extended into every corner of the country. In this remote Norwegian valley, the Germans seized a very special prize: the Norsk Hydro factory. Surrounded by mountains, the factory had been built on the face of a cliff overlooking a deep and impassable gorge. For the Nazis, it was an ideal location for a wartime project, difficult to bomb and easy to defend. But to the generals in Berlin, Norsk Hydro offered even more. In 1940, it was the only hydroelectric plant in the world producing large amounts of an extremely rare substance, deuterium oxide, also known as heavy water. As soon as they took control of the plant, production went into high gear. When word reached Great Britain, a powerful sense of foreboding swept through the Allies. As the most likely target for a German A-bomb, Britain faced the greatest peril.
Is it possible they do not realize that we shall never cease to persevere against them until they have been taught a lesson which they and the world will never forget?
Winston Churchill's spirited defiance of the Nazis became a rallying point for resistance fighters from all over conquered Europe. Young Norwegians, eager for combat, joined the army of exiles gathering in Britain.
There was no sacrifice that was too big to try to get the Germans out.
Clean rifle. Well done.
The British created a secret organization, the Special Operations Executive, to fan the fires of resistance.
You volunteered and you were trained by the British to go back to Norway and work behind the lines on sabotage, instruction, reporting, radio information, wireless operating, and that sort of thing.
A few young resistance fighters would return to Norway undercover, armed with a plan to destroy the heavy water factory. They were country boys and city kids, engineers and outdoorsmen, university students and career soldiers. Shock troops in a clandestine war against Hitler's A-bomb. They would become legends in their homeland. And some of them would even star in this 1948 movie, chronicling their real-life exploits. Scenes from this film give a revealing glimpse of the daring mission. October 18th, 1942. 4 of the men returned home in a dangerous night parachute jump. Their mission, to guide a British explosives team to the heavy water plant.
When we were leaving for the dropping zone, you felt that some of the people sending you didn't expect to see you once more. So we had to more or less to cheer them up and say it's not this easy to get rid of us. We will be back. Just wait and see. Our target is the heavy water production. That was all. They said it's important and we have to destroy it.
I knew that heavy water was important for the Germans' weapon production, but in which way, I had no idea.
The commandos' first objective was to establish a secret landing field on the Hardangervidda, a huge plateau north of the factory. Crossing that bleak expanse, the Norwegians took over an empty cabin and made radio contact with England. The operation could begin. For the first sortie, the British sent a force in gliders towed by bombers, a plan that needed clear weather. But over Norway, clouds, winds, and snow had cut visibility to near zero. For the Norwegians on the ground, the flight had become a disaster waiting to happen.
I tried to get connection with England and warn them, but at that time it wasn't possible. And then suddenly I heard interference in my headphones, and I knew they were not far away. And shortly after we also heard the engines of the aircraft. And it came dead on us, passed over us, and disappeared. After about half an hour, the next plane with a glider came, and it came right to us correctly, turned, and went away.
The British troops never arrived at the rendezvous point.
We got a message from London that both gliders in one of the Halifaxes had crashed in the mountains. So that was the end of the freshman operation. It was a complete disaster.
The soldiers who survived the crash were rounded up and executed. The Allies' secret war against the heavy water factory was now exposed. To avoid detection, the commandos withdrew deeper into the Hardangervidda. For weeks, perhaps months, they would have to live off a land where little existed but snow and ice.
When this mission on the gliders failed, we had actually no supplies for further stay in the mountains. So we were dependent upon reindeer. But at that moment, there were few or no reindeer at all in our area because of the wind directions.
It was so very difficult to get to the reindeers. But the day before Christmas, Jens, he shot the reindeer. Jens learned that if you take the stomach of a reindeer, you get vitamins from the reindeer moss. So we cut up the stomach and took out the reindeer moss or the contents and mixed it with blood and everything and made a nice porridge mixed with brain. And we were eating it, and it probably saved our lives. So Christmas Eve, we had a real fine party.
We chatted. We had a good time at Christmas Eve. I remember well.
You know your comrades outside and inside. Do you know what he is going to say before he opens his mouth? They had endurance. They had a will to hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to hold on.
They would have to hold on through the darkest months of winter. But each day, the Nazi supply of heavy water was growing, drop by precious drop. London had to make a move. A second Norwegian squad, specially trained in explosives, would drop onto the Hardangervidda and join their comrades in an assault on the heavy water plant. February 16th, 1943. Under cover of night, the 6 new men landed. Now the commandos were ready to strike a blow against Hitler's A-bomb, if they could penetrate the factory's formidable and deadly defenses. To the commandos, the heavy water plant appeared impervious to attack. To reach the factory, the saboteurs had to cross a deep, narrow gorge. There was only one road in, over a suspension bridge. And the bridge was patrolled 24 hours a day by German soldiers. Any direct assault would be doomed. But the chasm itself, with its steep, icy wall, lay unguarded.
Some of us said we thought it was rather impossible to cross that gorge, but it was decided that one should go down and find out. In daylight, I went down into the valley, I climbed down the gorge, crossed the river, and started climbing up on the other side. And then the same way back, up to my friends up in the mountains, and told the facts that it was possible to cross the gorge.
You felt that this may be serious, very serious for you, and you accepted that you might not come through.